Hey guys, this is Charl from GuitarSkills.com, and in this video, I'd like to give you a couple of pointers when it comes to playing blues lead guitar. Now, playing blues lead, for the most part, when you're looking at players like Clapton and B.B. King and Stevie Ray Vaughan, you know, those kind of guys we all love, they didn't really get into any of the fancy blues modes like Lydian flat 7 and, you know, the kind of things we might expect from a player like Robin Ford or Larry Colton. Those guys, for the most part, you know, stuck to their guns and just kept it nice and simple with pentatonic scales and the blues scale, right? So with the pentatonic scale, you got 5 notes. The blues scale, you have 6 notes. So how do you really make a lot out of your playing if you're only really using 6 notes, you know, as opposed to the full 12 notes that we have available on the guitar? And when you look at jazz, obviously there you got like a ton of modes and arpeggios and really outlining all of the changes and chromatic notes and, you know, tensions and stuff that's not part of a scale. That's really complicated because now you have a lot more notes to work with, right? And for that reason, in jazz, you don't really have a lot of string bending, vibrato, and those kind of articulation techniques like you'd find in the blues. So what I'm saying is, if you want to play blues and you want to play it well, then you need to learn phrasing techniques. And phrasing techniques would be things like bending. And hammer-ons and pull-offs. Slide. Vibrato. These are the kind of things that's going to give you some character in the way that you play the blues. So let's look at a couple of ways in which you can use string bending and pull-offs, for example, and a hammer-on. That's a pretty cool lick. I can play the same thing 12 frets higher. So what's happening there? I'm bending a note, the D note, which is being bent into the E note. But before I can get to that E note, I just play the open E. And then I'm just descending down the blues scale, which is picking the 3rd fret on the B, pulling off to the open B. Then I pick 3, 2 on the G, pulling off to the open G. Then 2 on the D, 2 on the G, 2 on the D, open 1 on the G, and then open E. So as you can hear, that sounds pretty cool, right? Because I'm using bending, hammer-ons and pull-offs to give me a nice quality to those notes, because I'm not playing. If I just played the exact notes, yeah, it would be that, right? That doesn't sound very bluesy. It kind of sounds a bit robotic and monotonous, if you will. But if I do this, now it's starting to get some attitude. And if you think about it, right, bending one note to another note, yes, the tones between that, there's only 2 semitones, all right? So if you look at a piano, there'll only be, like from D to E, there's only 1 note in between. But on a guitar, we're not limited by, you know, that structure. You can actually get all these microtones. So if I play a note like this, and I bend it, there's like such a wide spectrum in the way that I can go from D to E. And that is why the way that I'm going to bend from D to E is going to be very different that you will bend from D to E. And the way that I'm going to use vibrato is going to be very different to the way that you're going to use vibrato. And the same way with the phrasing and all those kind of things. And that really is the thing that makes the difference when it comes to developing great tone on the guitar. I remember interviewing Joe Satriani in London, and for the day we had like the amp that we had available and some of the pedals. It was already classic blues. It was like a boutique blues amp, kind of, you know, like it wasn't a famous brand, but it was a handmade amp with that kind of boutique blues vibe and we had like very bluesy sounding pedals. But when Joe picked up his guitar, he had his Ibanez, and when he picked that up and plugged it into the amp, and the way that he played, and more importantly, the way that he phrased the notes, instinctively, immediately, it sounded like Satriani, and it did not sound like a classic blues, boutique blues style of a rig. So that is what I really want to encourage you if you're an up-and-coming player, or you're someone who's been trying to play blues for a long time, but you're just struggling to get that conviction happening in your playing. It's not about the guitar, it's not about the pedals, it's not about the amp, it's not even about the notes. All right, so for most people, that is like, if it's not about any of those things, then what is it about? Well, I just told you, it's in a way that you phrase stuff and the way that you use articulation techniques. And that is stuff like hammer-ons, pull-offs, slides, vibrato, all these kind of things. All right, and then if you look at, even just kind of getting some melodic interest in your playing, or getting, some excitement in there as you build towards something specifically as you're soloing, because that's the other thing, is you don't want your solo to kind of be boring the whole time. At some point, you need to be building anticipation, and you need to kind of build the tension and then kind of resolve that. And again, hammer-ons and pull-offs will help you to do that. Now, if you look at a lick like this, for example, I change the pickup there. Now, all of a sudden, I'm building a lot of drama with that note. And if you use that in a carefully placed part of a solo, then you're going to see that's also going to really help you to sound more convincing as a blues guitarist. So, for example, Clapton, he would do something like this. And he's just repeating these notes over and over. Now, that is, again, what's he doing there? It's a combination of hammer-ons and pull-offs to allow you to bring that kind of a phrase. That's why we even call that a phrase on the guitar. All right, so that's why it's very, very important for you to check these kind of things out. And you can also use slides, which is another phrasing technique, articulation technique, to change positions on the guitars. Right, so that's of course something else that's important when you're playing blues guitar, is to kind of be fluent across the neck, and therefore, yes, you get different scale patterns in which you can play certain licks and lines. But if you're playing, for example, the blues like this, it's kind of boring, right? Because I'm very distinctly moving from one pattern to the next pattern. But if you want to sound cool, then you'll do things like use a slide to change the position. And the others had an idea like just things like this that help me kind of move from one pattern to another one. And again, what's the common denominator there? Well, it's my phrasing techniques. It's the way that I'm using hammer-ons and pull-offs and slides and vibrato, all these things collectively known as articulation, right? That's the way I'm articulating what I'm playing, the way that I'm phrasing what I'm playing. So if you spend any time developing your hammer-ons, your pull-offs, slides, vibrato, and string bending, that's going to help you kind of find your voice as a player on the guitar, and it's also going to help you to kind of channel some of the legends in terms of the way that they played the guitar. Because it wasn't so much about the notes, they're all using the same notes, it's the same scale. It's called the blues scale, right? To play the blues, But in order to make it sound like Stevie Ray Vaughan or like B.B. King or like Eric Clapton or, just insert your favorite blues guitarist, it's in the way that they phrase the notes. And a big part of phrasing are these techniques that I've shown you today. It's a little bit of a rant, but I get these questions all the time at the website. Is like, how do I make my scales sound musical? And I think from this video, you get the answer. It's not about the scale sounding musical, but it's about the way that you're going to play the actual notes through the use of articulation techniques like we've checked out in detail for this video. Really hope you enjoyed this. On our channel, we've got a bunch of licks where I'll actually go ahead and break them down note for note and riffs and all these kind of things. But hopefully this serves as a good reminder for what you need to be working on if you want to learn to become a better lead guitarist when playing blues. In fact, this is going to help you playing rock and even other styles as well. So it's some time really well spent developing these techniques. If you'd like to get more lessons like this, including this lesson's tabs and free jam tracks, then you should register for a free GuitarSkills.com membership today. Simply click the link in the description box. I'll then send you the tabs of this lesson and you'll get instant access to our private members area. And don't forget to hit that thumbs up if you enjoyed this video. Comment below and let me know what else you'd like me to cover so I can give you what you need. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel because I'm going to keep these videos coming.